Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you've been battling chronic anxiety, waking up with a racing heart, or just feeling like you're constantly bracing for the absolute worst, I really want you to know right off the bat that you're not alone. But more importantly, I want to show you how you can actually take biological control of your anxious mind. Today, we're not just talking about putting a band-aid on your symptoms. We're talking about fundamentally rewiring the anxious brain, moving all the way from a state of paralyzing fear to a state of profound gratitude.
Okay, let's dive into this. What if you could physically rewire your anxious brain? Seriously, what if you could literally change your personality, unhook from past traumas, and break those exhausting habits of overthinking that you just can't seem to shake? Fascinatingly, based on some incredible insights from neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza, this isn't just wishful positive thinking, it is deeply grounded in biology. It turns out your brain is highly malleable, and today we are going to explore exactly how to reprogram the whole shebang.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the chronic anxiety loop. Second, the heart-centered nervous system reset. Third, rewiring through mental rehearsal. And finally, your daily rewiring routine. Let's get right to it. All right, Section 1, the chronic anxiety loop, how the past traps the present. If you struggle with chronic anxiety, it is absolutely crucial to understand that this isn't a personal flaw. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a highly predictable biological function. Your brain is just doing exactly what it was designed to do to keep you alive, but unfortunately, it's gotten totally stuck in overdrive. Let's look at the two distinct operating systems your brain can run on. When you're anxious, you're living in survival. Your brain is pumping out very fast, high beta waves. You're being driven by the amygdala, which is the brain's alarm system, and your focus gets incredibly narrow and obsessed with potential threats. On the flip side, the healthy, relaxed brain is living in creation. Here you drop into those slower alpha or theta brainwaves, and your nervous system is heart-centered, synchronized, and just completely open to possibility. Now, a massive part of why we get stuck in that survival mode involves something called the default mode network. Think of this as your brain's relentless, hyperactive predictor. It consumes an enormous amount of energy just trying to predict your future based entirely on your past experiences. If your past holds trauma, fear, or just chronic stress, your default mode network is constantly scanning the horizon, practically screaming that the worst is about to happen again. Well, no wonder you feel completely exhausted by 2 p.m. Let's break down the actual biology of this loop. When you're ruminating on those worst-case scenarios, stress hormones basically hijack your brain, forcing you into survival mode. Your focus violently narrows on potential loss and fear. And here is the really shocking part. Your physical body cannot tell the difference between a real physical threat in the room and a scary thought in your head. So by obsessing over fear, your body is reliving past trauma chemistry 50 to 100 times a day. Eventually, those massive rushes of cortisol and adrenaline become biologically addictive. Your body literally learns to crave the stress. Moving on to Section 2, heart-centered nervous system reset, turning off the survival center. So how in the world do we break this chemical addiction? Well, first, we have to deal with the amygdala. This is the primal survival center of your brain. When it gets activated, it triggers profound fear and keeps you constantly scanning your environment for danger. When you're locked in a chronic anxiety loop, your amygdala is essentially jammed in the on position. We have to learn how to manually flip that switch off. So the crucial point is, how do we physically tell our brain that the threat is actually over? We do it through these specific steps, and honestly, they're so effective, they're even used by Navy SEALs to reset their baseline in combat. Step 1, open the heart center, just by gently placing your attention there. Step 2, slow your breathing down. Actually slowing your breath physically slows down your racing brainwaves. Step 3, this slow, focused breathing sends an orderly, coherent signal right up your nervous system to your brain. And step 4, that signal acts as a direct kill switch to turn off the amygdala. You literally shut down the anxiety alarm. And when you successfully turn off that survival center, something truly beautiful happens. As Dr. Dispenza points out, the memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. By resetting your heart and unhooking that intense physiological fear from the memory itself, the past trauma transforms from a painful, paralyzing trigger into peaceful wisdom. You are finally, really, no longer living in the past. Which brings us to Section 3, rewiring through mental rehearsal, building new neural pathways. See, it's not enough to just stop the anxiety. We have to intentionally replace those old cortisol-driven pathways with brand new positive neurological hardware.
There's a foundational principle in neuroscience that perfectly explains this. Nerve cells that fire together wire together. This is neuroplasticity in action. Every single time you think a thought or feel an emotion, you are firing specific nerve cells. Do it enough times, and they hardwire together into a completely automatic program. So, if you've unintentionally wired your brain for anxiety over the years, the great news is you can intentionally rewire it for peace.
But there are some strict rules of mental rehearsal to actually make that rewiring stick. First, you must remember that if you are truly present, the brain literally does not know the difference between a real experience and one you just vividly imagine. Second, you've got to slow your brain waves down into the alpha or theta state, that deeply relaxed, suggestible state, so you can sneak past your critical, overthinking mind. Third, mentally rehearse exactly how you want to behave and feel the next time you get triggered by fear. And finally, just keep firing these new circuits. By repeatedly rehearsing a new calm reaction, you install it as your default automatic software. Now, what's really interesting about this number right here is what it represents: 50. Research actually shows that just 10 minutes a day of genuinely feeling and practicing gratitude can boost your immune system by 50%. We're not just talking about fluffy, positive thinking here. We are talking about creating profound, measurable biological upgrades in your entire body simply by directing your focus away from fear.
The ultimate goal of this mental rehearsal is to teach your body emotionally what your future feels like before it even happens. When you consistently replace those toxic thoughts of cortisol and panic with deep, rich feelings of gratitude and abundance, you are biologically simulating a positive future. Your body actually begins to live in that elevated state right now, long before the external circumstances of your life have even changed one bit.
All right, let's bring it home with Section 4, your daily rewiring routine. Micro habits for a new mind. Knowing all this science is fascinating, sure, but translating it into your actual daily life, that's where the real magic happens. To reprogram your brain efficiently, you need to use the natural windows of opportunity that your biology already gives you. Take a look at this timeline. In the evening, as you wind down, your brain waves naturally drop from fast beta to relaxed alpha and theta, eventually hitting delta when you sleep. Then in the morning as you wake up, you rise from delta back up through theta and alpha before hitting beta for the day. These morning and evening transitions, when you are lingering in theta and alpha, are basically wide open doors to your subconscious mind. These are absolutely the best times to practice gratitude and mental rehearsal. Definitely not the time to be scrolling through a stressful social media feed. But what happens during the middle of the day when anxiety just suddenly hits you out of nowhere? Here is your exact microhabit. Step 1, notice the unconscious fear thought arise. Catch yourself right as you start slipping into that anxiety loop. Step 2, refuse to go unconscious. Execute your will. Say to yourself with absolute firmness, nope, I am not going down this path today. Step 3, settle your body right back into the present moment. Breathe, open your heart center, and literally command your body to relax into the unknown. Honestly, it's going to be tedious at first, kind of like training a wild animal, but I promise you, your body will eventually surrender to your new mind. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what to do when specific daily triggers pop up. When you feel that narrow, obsessive focus on fear creeping in, your microhabit is to broaden your visual focus to the space around you. Scientifically, this actually synchronizes the fragmented modules of your brain. When you feel sudden agitation or anger, take a few slow breaths and deliberately dismiss yourself from the trigger, which instantly liberates your energy from the past. And as we just talked about, when you're waking up or going to bed, spend just 10 minutes feeling pure gratitude that primes your brain for a completely new future. Look at the sheer biological contrast we've established today. The brain on fear is totally fragmented, highly reactive, obsessed with past traumas, and locked in a deeply draining survival mode. But the brain on gratitude? It's completely synchronized, highly creative, future-focused, and operates holistically. Every single time you catch an anxious thought and pivot, you get to choose exactly which brain you want to cultivate. So I want to leave you with this final, really powerful question to chew on. Are you ready to trade the familiar past for an unknown, elevated future? Look, rewiring your anxious brain takes effort, it takes daily practice, and for sure, it takes the sheer courage to step out of the familiar, addictive chemistry of stress. But the biological evidence is crystal clear. You have the profound power to heal your own mind. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now take a deep, heart-centered breath and begin your rewiring.